G'day, I'm Patrick from Douglas Fir Design. Welcome to the Router Bits. Have a look at this draw lock joint bit. It's a pretty snazzy little router bit that allows you to do a neat and strong join that's used especially in drawer making for cabinetry and so forth. When you're building drawers, it's really common to use 12mm stock, and this router bit does a great job at creating these lock joints in 12mm stock. But you can also use the same bit in a very similar way to create a similar joint in 19mm stock. And I want to go through those processes now of setting it up because they're a little bit different. So the first thing we want to do, once you've locked the bit in place, is to drop the height so that the top of that blade sits at exactly 12mm. And that applies whether or not you're trying to cut these joints for 12mm stock or for 19mm. And every single cut, you'll keep that height exactly where it is. The next step we're going to do is to cut these slots into vertical pieces. And you'll notice if you look at these, that the slots are actually exactly the same. Wow, it's windy out there. The slots are exactly the same on both the 19 and the 12mm. So this step is the same for both thicknesses of timber. All we need to do, you'll notice that there are two sections of blade on this cutter. We need to line up that bottom blade with the fence. So just bring that forward until those two are exactly at the same point and lock that off. And we'll do that for the vertical pieces on both the 12mm and the 19mm stock. So now that I've set the fence and the depth for how I want it to make these vertical cuts, I'm going to run some stock through. I'm going to do both 12 and 19mm. These won't be used on the same drawer. I just want to show you that you can do both with exactly the same setup. So we've cut our vertical pieces and now we're ready to cut our horizontal pieces. I'm going to start by cutting my 12mm. We don't need to move the fence or the height of the router bit at all for the 12mm thing. So it stays exactly the same as it was before, which is 12mm high and with the lower part of the blade in line with the fence. So all we need to do is set some feather boards and run that through horizontally. I'll do that now, show you how that joint lines up. Okay, we have our 12mm horizontal piece and our 12mm vertical piece, and they go together just perfectly. It's really flush on the bottom and it's really simple because you can just set the router bit and you don't need to move it between those cuts. So now I'm going to move to cutting the horizontal piece for my 19mm stock, and for this we need to move the fence a bit. Leave the height of the router bit exactly where it was before. So to set the depth of the fence now, all we need to do is place that 19mm stock on the fence and bring it forward until the wood, the timber, lines up exactly with the front of that tooth. So the cut depth will be a 19mm. Perfect. Now that that's locked off, put some feather boards in place and run this through. It is removing quite a fair bit of material, so if you are using hardwood or something a bit denser than pine, you might want to do this in 2 passes and just make sure your final pass is set at that depth from the fence. So now we have our horizontal bit and our vertical bit, and you'll see that they line up perfectly. And the joint is a little bit different from the 12mm joint because there's this tongue that's exposed on the horizontal piece, and that just holds everything together a little bit more tightly with more surface area. We just don't have enough meat on the 12mm to do the joint in exactly the same way. It's a pretty versatile bit in that you can use it for the 12 or the 19mm timber. You could actually use it for thicker timber as well if you wanted. You just have to play around with the depth of the fence like I did for that horizontal bit. It's not just used for drawers. You could really use this anywhere where you wanted a 90 degree joint, where you weren't looking for a mitre. It actually looks pretty attractive, so you could be using it in any kind of cabinetry or any application where you wanted that sort of joint. You can grab these Torquata drawer lock joint bits from Timbecon, either on their website or at either of their stores in Melbourne and in Perth.